So let's get started. The first, everybody that's coming up is for the State Senate District 4 Forum, Brett Ligon and Charlie Miller. If y'all go ahead and come on up. Okay, y'all ready to get started? Mr. Ligon, you have 2 minutes for your opening.
Bottom line up front, public safety, strong borders, lower property taxes. Might as well repeat it several times because the message won't change, because it's the message that Texans need to hear. For 17 years, this community has put me in office because I believed in public safety. For 17 years, I have been the voice of victims throughout Montgomery County. But I've done the hard work. I put myself through law school, working night shift at the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department. My first career was as a prosecutor in the Harris County District Attorney's Office. When I left the Harris County District Attorney's Office, I went to the Houston Police Officers Union representing the men and women of the Houston Police Department. And then finally, in 2008, I won office to be your district attorney. And for the last 5 terms, I kept the message simple. I didn't underpromise, and I didn't underdeliver. I always delivered. I tried to keep the promises simple because I don't like it when people try to tell you that they're going to give you the sun and the moon and they don't deliver anything. So I have 3 promises. You'll get my attention, you'll get my effort, and most importantly, you'll get my honesty. I believe that I've earned every endorsement that I've received, the endorsement of the Lieutenant Governor, the endorsement of Governor Abbott. I believe I've earned the endorsement of Senator Creighton, Morgan Luttrell, Congressman, the city councilman down in Houston, Texas Right to Life, many groups, every Republican sheriff in all the 5 counties in which we're there. I am not running to be someone. I'm running to be your senator for District 4 to do something, to keep this community safe, to have strong borders, and to make sure that conservative Republicans continue to push a conservative policy and conservative laws to help keep the state of Texas the most conservative state in the union. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Miller, you now have 2 minutes for your opening.
Wasn't sure I was on. Thank you. Thank you to the Eagle Forum for putting this on. Thank you to Grace Woodlands Church for hosting in this beautiful building, letting us use your facilities. And thank you to the attendees and everybody that's watching for giving your time to come and listen to all of us tonight. My name is Charlie Miller, and I'm a small business owner and a veteran. I'm a husband, a father, and a pop to my grandbabies. I'm a low-tax, small government conservative, and most importantly, I'm a Bible-believing, God-fearing, Jesus-loving, born-again child of God. I'm a working man from a working family. Most of my life, my work experience has been to learn how to do more with less. And I believe that the government needs a very good lesson in that ideology. That's what they need to do. And I believe that every rule, every law, every ordinance, everything that's passed that affects our lives should be simple to read, easy to understand, and easy to follow, therefore making it easy to enforce when necessary. I am not a career politician. Other than supporting some local guys here in Montgomery County, this is my first foray into politics. I want to ensure that the everyday person has a voice in Austin. Too often politicians owe allegiance to other people, to other politicians. They owe allegiance to special interest groups and to donors. And they forget why they went there, who sent them there, and who they're responsible to. Government is frequently referred to as a swamp, regardless of where the office or the place is. And that's for a reason. I also want to take small business mindset to Austin, small business decision-making skills, small business common sense ideas to go make a difference for the everyday person. Thank you very much.
Okay, Let's get started on the questions now. You'll each have 2 minutes to answer the questions. Mr. Ligon, you're going to go first. What makes you different from other candidates?
Well, I'm time-tested and battle-proven. Senate District 4 covers Montgomery County, Harris County, Jefferson, Chambers, and a portion of Galveston. The Senate hearings start in March. The next session starts in January. There are 16 committees on or for the Senate. There's 31 senators, 21 are Republican, which means every senator is going to have to, at a minimum, have 5 senatorial committees in which they're responsible for. Of those 16 committees, I've already testified before 8 of those. Of those 8 committees, I have already written the law, I've already testified to the law, and I've helped pass the law. Laws that help keep the state of Texas safe. Everything from making sure that delivery of fentanyl is now charged as a murder, all the way to this most recent session. Because of the testimony that we offered up, the state of Texas, the judges now are able to withhold bail. Judge, as you very well may be aware, are now able to withhold bail in circumstances that they were never allowed to. There was a constitutional amendment on Prop 3, and I testified to that in front of a ton of contested testimony. Also, the testimony in regards to the Judicial Accountability Act. So everything that I have done, whether it was that, voter ID, for the last 8 sessions, I have testified on behalf of conservative legislation. And the reason that I have is because the Senate and the House and the governor and the lieutenant governor have known that they can call on me to deliver a strong conservative message in Austin, Texas. Not only could I do the job, but I have been doing the job. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Miller, do you need me to read the question again?
No, sir, I'm good.
Okay.
So I have worked with local leaders and business owners in our industry to try to make things better for the community and for business owners here in Montgomery County. Working with commissioners, being at commissioners court, the things that matter to us every single day here in this county. Built a business through hard work and grit. Gone out and helped people in some of the worst of their times, out in the highway, out at their homes that were destroyed by floods. I've gone out, I've had ice in my beard because we were out working in the storm. Been out, poured sweat and blood to rescue people from floodwaters. In the water myself. I have been there, I have done the work, I've put in the time to be with the everyday person that is affected most by the hardest times of life. I have never been the hammer that drives the nail that demands respect. I have always been the tool to help bring relief at people's worst times.
Okay, Mr. Miller, you'll get this next question. The last one was, what makes you different from other candidates? This one here sort of follows that. How can you make a difference for Montgomery County and the state of Texas?
I can make a difference because I've been a normal working person every day of my life from a working family. I understand the struggle that everyday people go through. When you have to choose whether you're going to pay the light bill this week or buy groceries, I've done that. I've been there. I know what it is like to struggle. I know what it is like to have good times, bad times just alike. I understand all of that. And I want to take that small business, common sense, leadership skill, and decision making to Austin to make a difference for real people. Not just for other politicians in the way that they want you to vote. I want to do this for the people and to take their beliefs and their desires and take their voice to Austin and relay that on the Senate floor.
Thank you, Mr. Ligon. Do you need the question repeated?
No, Judge. The question is, how can I make a difference for Montgomery County and the state of Texas? It's very simple. The lieutenant governor, when he told me or wanted me to consider running, it came down to one decision. I was already the district attorney for 17 years, had the 5 terms. I was locked and loaded and ready to continue on with my career. And what he said was, I want you to do for the state of Texas what you've been doing for Montgomery County. And that is what it took to get me to retire from a job that I always saw myself doing. Now, how do you do that? Within the framework, the lieutenant governor is the one that appoints the senators to the committees. And so the 3 committees that I've already been identified as likely to be appointed to, one is border security. Now, why in the world would the district attorney be assigned to border security? Well, I'm the only prosecutor. I'm the only guy in the Senate, the only guy in this church, and probably the only guy in Montgomery County, except for Carmen Morales back there, who was down there on the border with me. We've actually prosecuted the cases on the border. I've actually been to the border. When people talk about securing the borders, I know that Kinney County has 8,000 cases pending and only has 3,500 residents. I'm the only guy that's ever picked a jury down there. I'm the only guy that's ever stayed down there during the cartel, and we had to have personal security while we were down there. There's a reason why the lieutenant governor wants me to continue to be the hammer on behalf of strong public policy, wants me to be the hammer on behalf of public safety because I am a subject matter expert. The second committee would be jurisprudence because I am an attorney. I'm double degreed, undergraduate degree from Texas A&M University, thank you, as well as a law degree from South Texas. And so because of that, I'll be on the jurisprudence committee, which is the law-making body. And then lastly, of course, is creme jure. But those committees go from everything from administration to water. I've spent untold hours already in the Kingwood zone dealing with the water areas, whether it's the groundwater, whether it's the retention ponds, detention ponds. I have done those things already in preparation for this job. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ligon, you'll get the next question. What Bible verse best describes God's call on your life to run for this position?
John Boucher is going to take credit for this, and John's going to say it's Ephesians, the armor of God. But long before John started handing out lapel pins that talk about the armor of God, I used to quote that same verse to other prosecutors because during this time and season, you have to strap on the girdle of truth, right? You have to strap on all the armor of God because you are facing the slings and arrows. And so it's something as a political candidate that I gravitate towards, and I'm glad to see John doing it. But for me as a prosecutor, I will tell you the one that always resonated with me, and I think it resonated with most prosecutors statewide, was the wicked man flees when no man pursueth. And oftentimes in closing arguments, that would be the one that I would leave ringing in the jurors' ears, explain why would a person run from the police? Well, the wicked flee when no man pursueth. And so those Bible verses that always spoke highly to me as a Catholic, the patron saint for me was St. Martin, which is the patron saint for warriors. And so that ethos and that pathos in regards to how I saw myself as a Christian warrior, I've told people throughout the years, the law to me is either a sword or a shield. And as a crusader on behalf of Montgomery County, I swung hard, and I swung that sword, and I used the shield to defend this community. And so whether it's a wrathful God of the Old Testament or a loving Jesus of the New Testament, I believe that the biblical principles that we've seen within the 10 Commandments, and I know that the Fifth Circuit has taken that case up for review, Senate Bill 10, in regards to whether or not the 10 Commandments will be displayed within the courtroom. Almost all criminal law is predicated on the original 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. And I fought for those beliefs, and I will continue to fight for the conservative beliefs of Montgomery County residents and for the entire state of Texas.
Mr. Miller, you need me to repeat the question?
No, sir. Thank you. So the Bible verse for me, I believe that I was called to join this race. Now, please understand, I don't believe that there was a guarantee of victory there. I do believe to put in the work and to take the steps and to do what is necessary to learn what I need to learn and to go forward and follow this calling to do this. The verse for me is John 10:27. It says, my sheep hear my voice and I know them and they follow me. Part of maturing as a Christian is learning to be quiet to be still and sometimes to just listen. So the morning that the Holy Spirit said, hey, you need to do this, I was ready because I've heard that voice before. I know what the voice sounds like. Part of being a Christian is to be still and to listen. It's not always about carrying a sword. Sometimes you just have to listen. And you have to recognize the voice of God, the voice of the Holy Spirit when he says to go. And I've done that time and time again throughout ministry in my life, whether it was talking to people in the front seat of a truck when I had their undivided attention, or whether it was going out and talking to people groups across the state. I have done that and I have listened. John 10:27, my sheep hear my voice and I know them and they follow me.
Okay, Mr. Miller, you have the next question. How will you address property taxes that are taxing people out of their homes?
I'm sorry, what was the beginning of that again?
How will you address property taxes that are taxing people out of their homes?
Absolutely, huh? So property taxes are a very big subject right now. And the governor and the lieutenant governor have both put out some really good plans. I like a lot of the things that are in the lieutenant governor or in the governor's plan. I would like to see the cap on the appraisal to 3%. I would like to see that appraisal only happens once every 5 years. I agree with that. I think that's the way to go. I also believe that homeowners should not be taxed on an unrealized or unrealistic value of their home. If you can't sell your home for that, why would you be getting taxed on that? That's not okay, and it happens every single day, every single year, every time we go to write that check. Every time you get that bill in the mail, the numbers don't match. If I can't sell my house for what they say that it's worth, why in the world do I have to pay taxes on that other number? Also, I believe that veterans give so much for this country. It's about being a volunteer. And when those veterans come home and they purchase a home, part of the American dream, those veterans, we should freeze their appraisal on that home, their primary home, for life. Freeze it at that value for life or at the time of purchase. For people that are on disability or if they have a special needs person at home, they sacrifice so much and are often on, they often have a fixed income. And in that fixed income, one of the biggest worries that they have, especially elderly on disability, is how am I going to pay the taxes that keep going up? That value needs to freeze and not change from 60 on up. And there should be no punishment if that person in the home passes.
Okay, Mr. Logan, do you need me to repeat the question?
So the question is, how do you address property taxes? The number one issue in property taxes is actually school taxes. The rate of return that you get within the county is actually pretty good. We all know that of a bill, it's probably 60 to 70% are your local school district taxes. The lieutenant governor's come forth with a plan, what he calls the double nickel. Now, when I appeared on Paul Betancourt's show the other day, I called it the Sammy Hagar plan because I can't drive 55. And anybody that's a child of the 80s knows about Sammy Hagar. And the 55 plan is you'll take the exemption that's currently at 65 years of age, that'll be reduced down to 55 years of age. Secondly, the appraisal portion will be capped from $120,000, will be raised from $120,000 up to $180,000. Now, how much does that plan cost? One of the concerns when people start talking about eliminating property taxes, I'm no Democrat. I'm not going to do that kind of math where you go, okay, we're going to give this away for free, and this over here, we're not going to tell you what this costs. And so that plan right there costs $1.8 billion. Texas is a $3 trillion GDP, a $508 billion economy every year. That plan to go from 65 to 55 is a sound plan because this year after it was all over with, Texas had $20 billion in additional revenue. That plan was $1.8 billion, $1.8 billion, and yet it has an outsized impact on those residents that actually own homes. The largest majority of homeowners are at that age. Secondly, you can contest market appraisal. If you want to contest, thank you, Mr. Real Estate. So some of the things, some of the concerns that have been voiced here are already capable, and so you can contest market value. And so if your home cannot sell for what the appraisal district, you have every right to challenge it, and you should challenge it. You should perhaps enlist the services of a registered real estate agent. There are other things as well, but I do not believe in giveaways for special classes.
Okay, Mr. Ligon, how do you plan to stay accountable to everyday constituents rather than wealthy donors or party leaders once in office?
In law enforcement, there's a principle called the low cards principle, and it's a principle of exchange. And what it means is that every time a criminal is on the scene, he leaves a portion of himself, but he takes a portion away. Now, one of the things that I've always taught newly elected prosecutors around the state as one of the educators for the newly electeds is I tell them that politics is part of the low cards principle. And so it's up to you to determine what that voter takes when they decide to support your campaign. And it's up to you to let them know what they're not taking away. And so part of it is, do you have to engage with donors? Neither Mr. Miller and I are neither one wealthy. I've been a government lawyer my entire career. Mr. Miller's been a small businessman. And so, of course, we're going to have to take donations to get out into the community. And so what you have to do is you have to pass a litmus test. Every Republican or every elected official that I ever removed from office in Montgomery County, they were all Republicans. That's accountability. As a Catholic, when I took on the Catholic Church, because they were hiding evidence on a pedophilic priest, that's accountability. When I put my faith on the line, when I said you shall not challenge the state of Texas, you shall not hide evidence about a pedophilic priest in Montgomery County, then I put my credibility on the line and I put the warm wishes of the Catholic Church. And so I put my faith on the line. And so every day as a district attorney, when I executed a man that I had gone to school with from 6th grade through high school and played football with, and sat on the bus with here, and I looked in the community and I said, Jonathan Green, it's your time to die. That's accountability. All these other people telling you how they can be accountable, you look over across somebody that you've known your whole adult life, and you're the one that chooses to execute them. That's accountability. I've been accountability to every single voter in this community. I've never backed away from a fight, nor have I ever backed off of a confrontation or a conversation. I've got 17 years of accountability. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, you need me to repeat the question?
No, sir, thank you. It's a fantastic question, isn't it? How are we going to be held accountable? That's very easy for me. Our campaign, while we are not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination, 2/3 of our campaign is self-funded. 2/3 of it. It's not a big campaign, but it's 2/3. I don't owe any politician loyalty for any favor, for any endorsement. I owe no special interest to anything. The only people that I will owe anything to is you, nobody else. I could be your voice without any interference. I don't have to listen to the noise. It doesn't matter what other people think. The accountability is going to be directly between me and the voters. I will proudly stand in Austin and say what you have asked me to say, share what you have asked me to share, and vote according to my conscience, to my faith, and to what the voter wants me to do. I don't owe anybody any allegiance but the voter.
Okay, Mr. Ligon, do you?
Good.
Okay, I think Mr. Miller, you're going next. What are your concrete plans to address political Islam in our community, state, and nation?
So, there are a lot of social issues that are going to be faced here. Whether it's political Islam or it is anything else that we find in Scripture that faces the church and faces society. I believe that all things should be met with love, that we should be, as Christians, as leaders, the bright shining light on a hill, the city on a hill. We should set the example, rebuke anything that doesn't need to be there with love and a tender heart and a soft voice as much as possible. Look at people, see people through the eyes of Christ. That's one of the things that we are called to do as Christians. See people as Jesus sees people. Deal with people as Jesus dealt with people. Did Jesus toss tables in the temple? Absolutely. And there may be a time and a day and a place for that. But at the same time, God sent his son to the world because he loved the world. We should do everything out of love and everything by example that was given to us by Christ.
Well, let me be very clear. I do not think that you meet political Islam with love. I do not think that you meet political Islam with tenderness. I do not believe that you meet political Islam with a kind heart and an open hand. I believe that you meet Sharia law because that is the political arm of Islam. The political arm of Islam, as the Quran was interpreted by the Hadith, the political arm of Sharia law says that women are not equals, says that women should hide their faces. That is not the society that the United States is founded upon. Sharia law says that when a man is caught stealing, there is no redemption, that a man shall have his hand removed, that women shall be stoned. That is not a just law, and that is not God's law, and that law does not deserve to be met with tenderness and kindness. Not every problem that the state of Texas faces for the next 10 years can be met with love, tender kittens, and puppies. Not every issue in the state of Texas can be reduced down to something easy so everybody can read it. There are difficult problems ahead for the state of Texas. Those issues require litigation. Those issues require forthrightness. Those issues require diligence. They require research and an in-depth knowledge of the problems that we face. And so do not ask me to stand here and be nice to Sharia law or to somebody who comes in here and calls me an infidel because I am a Christian and they're ready to go meet Allah and retrieve their bounty in heaven and blow us all up because we do not believe like they do. The only way that scourge of political Islam can be met is strong laws. The Care Center in Dallas, which was supposed to be an Islam-centered facility, is no different than what's going on in Plum Grove. Luckily, Attorney General Paxton filed a lawsuit to stop the Care Center in Dallas. That center was going to be a blight on that community. When you start to hear the 5 prayers of Allah every day, like they do in Minneapolis, you will know that kindness and tenderness did not help.
Okay, we're going to move to our closing statements. Mr. Ligon, you have 2 minutes.
The 2 minutes, you would like to reduce a campaign down to 2 minutes. You'd like to reduce a career of public service for 2 minutes. I have chosen my entire public life to help this community, to help the community of Harris County, to help the community of Montgomery County, and now my job is to try to continue to help Senate District 4. Senate District 4 is not just Montgomery County. 60% of this vote will be Montgomery County, but 28% will be Kingwood. Kingwood deserves to have the same level of representation as my city of Montgomery does. Jefferson County, which is looking at a depopulation for the last 10 years, they deserve to have the same resources in Jefferson County and Chambers County. That 1% down there in Bolivar, it's Highway 87. When I was down there talking to the county judge and the county engineers about the problems that 1% faced, it was just as important to me as every victim that I've ever had in Montgomery County. Now, I know that I'm a lot younger than what y'all may think. I'm ready for this job, but I promise you, I have the experience for the job. I have the wisdom that comes from the mistakes, and I have the experience as well. There is a reason why I'm able to call whether it's going to be Congressman Toth or Congressman Crenshaw. I have the wisdom and I have the experience in whether it's going to be calling Jessica Steinman or whether it's going to be calling Brett Jensen, because you can't silo information. When you're the senator for Senate District 4, you're playing for all the marbles. And so it's why those endorsements matter, because it's why the lieutenant governor is going to be part and parcel of which committees I'm going to be on. The lieutenant governor is not going to let Montgomery County fail. The only reason that Ted Cruz is still in office is because the Christian patriots in this room allowed Ted Cruz to continue on. That's how important Montgomery County is. One of the most important battles in the state of Texas is right here in Montgomery County. As Montgomery County goes, the state of Texas goes. And by God, the way the state of Texas goes is the way the United States goes. And it needs to be the Christian conservative patriots in this room, in this church, and churches all across this state that lead this United States.
Mr. Miller, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you, sir. We are faced with a very important day on March 3rd. It's primary election day. And on that day, we will choose who represents us as a party, and in some cases, who will lead the party. Casting your vote is a right guaranteed to the U.S. citizen. It is a right that we should not take for granted. This is the most direct way that people's voices can be heard, especially locally. It's a decision that we should educate ourselves on and learn who you're voting for. We have a decision on March 3rd. Do we want something new? Because the contrast couldn't be more different. Do we want something new, a new voice that has a different kind of focus, a business-minded focus to make decisions for real, everyday people? Or do we want to fall into the same old, everyday, good old boy system that has been there, where we prop people up and we push people forward? The choice could not be more clear. Do we, the people, choose to allow other elected officials at a state level or a federal level, or special interest groups, choose who represents us? Is that what we want? Do we, the people, choose to stand and send forth those who want to serve and cast votes for us, or are we okay with just the same thing all the time? The same type of candidates, the same group of people. I'm not in this race for a title. I'm not in this race for a paycheck or as a stepping stone to whatever comes next. I don't have my eyes set on another office to follow after this. I am in this race so that you and I have a clear voice in our representation. My name is Charlie Miller, and I want to work for you.
Okay, everybody, we're going to take about a 10-minute break. If y'all would be back in here at 7:23. Thank you.
Hey friends, as you know, there's a very important primary election coming up on March 3rd, with early voting beginning on February 17th. And your vote matters. Are you ready to make your voice heard? I sure hope so, because bad politicians are elected by good citizens who don't vote. One of my colleagues often says, unless Jesus is on the ballot, you'll always be voting for the lesser of two evils. So don't forsake the good or the better because you're expecting the perfect. As Christians, we need to register to vote, and then we need to vote. Vote early and vote for those who best align with the values of the kingdom. The U.S. Pastor Council is a national network of kingdom-minded pastors standing together to impact communities across America through prayer, spiritual leadership, and civic engagement. We are Ezekiel 33 watchmen, pastors standing for truth, providing moral clarity and raising a prophetic voice within our cities. If God is calling you to stand where you are and watch over your community, take the first step. Connect with the U.S. Pastor Council, then pray for guidance. Invite other pastors to join you and launch your local pastor council. Join us today and be a part of a movement that strengthens pastors, reclaims communities, and helps shape the nation.
Okay, everybody, I guess we get everybody else in here, we'll get started. We were supposed to have two candidates tonight for this next race, Texas House District 3. I know Kristen, and she's here, and I know Cecil Bell, and I don't see Cecil Bell anywhere. I'd recognize him. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have Kristen come up here and take the hot seat. And yeah, we even got your name tag up there. How you doing? Good. So we have a certain amount of time for each one of these races. So we'll probably ask her a few more questions than as if that she'll get the opportunity to answer that since Cecil's not here. So Kristen, are you ready to begin? Okay. So you're going to get 2 minutes to do your opening statement.
Okay. As he said, I'm Kristen Plaisance. I'm running for Texas House District 3. I fix things. That's just who God created me to be. I got involved in politics during COVID and the 2020 election when I saw governments and even corporations treating people like subjects and stripping us of our voices through insecure elections. The Texas legislature had the power to stop all of that, but they failed. Article 12 of the Texas Constitution gives the legislature the duty to regulate corporations in order to protect and defend us. They didn't do that. So I stepped up and I helped people learn how to defend their rights from government and corporate mandates, saving their health, their jobs, and their businesses. Article 6 mandates that the legislature protect our elections from undue influence by those in power, but they failed again. So I led the push for the toughest hand count audit for the 2024 election, which was mandated statewide. Article 1, Section 29 forbids laws that infringe upon our rights, but they keep infringing. So with other Americans, we sent thousands of legal notices to the U.S. Supreme Court that contributed to landmark legal victories restoring our rights. I'm running to fix what's broken in government: out of control spending, crushing taxes, and a government that no longer fights for us. I will. Put me to work for you. No one will work harder to defend your rights and to defend your hard-earned tax dollars than I will. Thank you.
Okay, Kristen, the first question is, do you believe we are currently being overtaxed in Texas? If so, what cuts can we make right now to help struggling families?
Yes, we are absolutely being overtaxed. We are being overtaxed so much that this last biennium, our government had a $24 billion surplus. They could have given us 3 times the property tax relief that we received if they had taken that surplus and given it back to the people. That surplus is just code for overtaxation. So they need to give us that money back, or at least spend it on things that are going to benefit us. Instead, they spent money. They spent $1.5 billion. They gave that money to already very wealthy Hollywood producers to create Little Hollywood in Texas. I don't know about you, but I didn't want to pay for that. So they need to stop finding creative ways to spend our money and either give it back to us or actually help us. So we want to pay down all of the school property taxes with those surpluses till we can eliminate the school portion of our property taxes. That would be 40 to 60% of our property taxes.
Is there anything you can legislatively do to help fund infrastructure such as roads, jails, and the courthouse here in Montgomery County?
There actually is several things that the legislature can do. So we can seek earmarks in the appropriations bill that would send money back to the county. We could authorize more county bonding for long-term projects like a new jail or a new courthouse. We could increase state reimbursement rates for housing inmates in our jail. That would give us larger funds to be able to fund a new jail. We could also create better grant programs to help local governments to fund infrastructure projects. So there are things that the legislature could do to help us fund some of these things that need to be done in our county.
What is your number one priority to start tackling when you get to Austin?
Oh gosh, it's hard to pick a number one because there's so much work that needs to be done. But I will say that elections are the foundation of our republic. So I got involved in all of this because of the 2020 election. I started investigating our elections in Texas. I've read the entire election code more than once, and if you print it out, it's 4 inches thick. I know where the problems lie. We need two very important things to secure our elections. We need penalties for those in power over elections that violate our laws. There are currently no penalties if the Secretary of State certifies equipment that they know is vulnerable to manipulation and does not meet the standard of our Texas laws. You cannot hold them accountable for that. We also need better audit processes. There's currently no standard of accounting method that is used to audit our elections in Texas. We just hope and pray that the right people are in office, but any one of them had to go into court and prove that they were legally elected. They can't do it. So we need better audit processes. We need penalties for people in power over elections who violate election law.
Okay, there's several of these questions on this same subject. So I'm going to ask all of them so you can say what I said before, or you can add to it, okay?
Okay.
How have you been involved in the fight to secure our elections?
Yes, so I've been an election security advocate for 5 years. I have worked full-time, 12 to 16 hours a day, studying the election code, studying the processes that we're using to see if they match up with the election code. I have been out there, I've written bills, and I've gone into the legislature to promote those bills. I've testified in committee hearings at the state legislature. Some of my bills have actually been passed, or bills that I helped write. I didn't completely write them myself, but they have been passed in the legislature. I also pushed for, at the county level, we ended up having a workshop with our commissioners where we outlined over 4 hours of evidence we have found that show that our elections are not secure. We were able to go in and have this workshop with Judge Keogh, and Charlie Riley was one of our commissioners that sat in on the meeting. And we were able to push for the toughest hand count audit for the 2024 election in order to make sure that our elections are secure. Now, I'd love to tell you that it was a fantastic audit and that everything came out great, but the fact of the matter is that it was inconclusive. We could not prove that the election actually represented the will of the voters, despite the fact that 30 to 50 people volunteered every day for 21 days, working 8 hours a day. We tried to complete the hand count, and we could not complete it before the deadline that was set by the state legislature, so we had to stop counting before we could finish.
Okay, here's the next one on this same subject. And it's 2 parts. Three parts. Do you believe the 2020 election was rigged? If so, what have you done to combat voter fraud? And lastly, do you think our elections are currently secure?
No, our elections are not secure. Yes, the 2020 election was absolutely stolen, not from Trump. I want y'all to hear me when I say this. The narrative is that the Democrats stole the election from Donald Trump. The truth of the matter is, based on 5 years of evidence and study, is that both political parties, the establishment of both political parties, stole that election from us, the American people. And that is what gets lost in all of this. They stole our voices. They took away our right to choose. They took away our representative government. And I believe I've already kind of talked about the things that I've been out there doing to try to rectify that situation. I have been working with people across the nation trying to fix these issues. I have filed federal and state lawsuits trying to enforce our election law, and I've done it at my own dime. I am not an attorney, so there's tons of things that I have done trying to fix this situation, and I continue to fight every day, and I will continue to fight for you until we have secure elections.
Okay, let's change the subject. What makes you different from other candidates?
Well, I'll tell you. You asked a question earlier about a Bible verse that talks about your calling
I'll get to that.
for this position.
I'll get to that.
Well, I want to address this. So, I am the relentless widow from the Bible. I can't tell you what specific Bible verse that is, but that is who I am. I am the relentless widow from the Bible. I will keep attacking a problem until I find a way to fix it. I will just keep coming back. You're either going to give me remedy today or you are going to give me remedy tomorrow, but you're going to give me remedy because I'm just going to keep fighting until we win.
How do you plan to stay accountable to everyday constituents rather than wealthy donors or party leaders once in office?
Yes. So my husband and I made the really tough decision to put $100,000 of our own money into this campaign. We are not wealthy people, but this is how much we are committed to restoring this nation back to its people. This is how important it is for us to be able to fight for you. We can be very selective about who we accept money from. And right now, it's really just been me and my husband and the people, small donations that are given to us by people like you in order to fund our campaign. I don't want to be beholden to people who don't share our values. If they want to come in and donate to me because they share our values and they believe in restoring this nation, that's fine, I'll let them donate. But the end comes when they start saying, well, you have to, I don't like you talking about how we need to fix elections. It's all Republicans in office, so surely everything is fine. If they're going to start capitulating to me, what my values have to be and what I can work on and what I can't, then that's where it ends. And as far as accountability, I put my personal cell phone number on every one of my marketing materials. You're not going to get an office. You're going to call me on the same phone my children call me on, because I can't represent you well if you can't pick up the phone and call me and tell me where you need help. I'm going to be out there in your community all the time, just like I am right now, being held accountable to you and listening to you. What is it that you need that I can do for you? It makes me really sad that my opponent did not come tonight to hear from the voters what is important to you. He is our current representative, and he could not bother to show up and be here tonight to listen to your concerns and to be held accountable. I will always show up for you.
What are your concrete plans to address political Islam in our community, state, and nation?
So that's a tough one. We want to be very careful when we are dealing with a group that claims to be a religious organization, because we don't want to let fear allow us to have the government rein in our rights to religion. But there are things that can be done without having to give up our rights for freedom of religion. So one thing is that we need to stop funding these organizations. Are y'all aware that our government is actually funding some of these organizations? We have given $13 million of grant money to Islamic organizations. We should not be doing that. So we need to cut off that funding. Another thing is to enforce Texas laws. You cannot have a completely different legal system within our nation, and there's laws that prevent that. And if the laws aren't strong enough to prevent it, then we need to make stronger laws. You can't come in here and set up your own government and set up your own court system and do things completely different. You have to follow the Constitution. You have to follow the laws that are set out by the legislature. And another thing that we could do is prevent corporations from selling housing based on religious preferences. That is a violation of our rights here in the United States. There's already laws on the books that prevent that. We just need to be enforcing our laws.
How has your community involvement helped shape your leadership skills, and what nonprofit volunteering have you done?
My entire last 5 years have been a nonprofit project. I have worked so many hours trying to fix these issues without pay, without fortune, without fame. I've done it because I love this state. I love this nation. I want to see it thrive. I want to see us return to our foundational principles. So I have been volunteering. And as far as how that has shaped my leadership, I have an issue with the word leadership. I want everyone to know I am not running to be your leader. The people that serve in our government are not your leaders. You are the leaders. They are working for us. Government is a trust, and those who serve in government are simply servants, agents, and trustees of the people that have a fiduciary duty, a legal fiduciary duty, that everything they do is supposed to benefit us. Raise your hand if you feel like your government right now understands that their job is to benefit you. Yeah, let the record show not a single person raised their hands. We need to restore true representative government, and that is what I'm running to do, to be your servant, your agent, and your representative in government, not your leader.
So with that said, what do you think about term limits?
I think we need term limits. We need term limits on everyone who is serving in government. This was never supposed to be a full-time job where someone goes in there and retires after 80 years of service. So we need term limits across the board, every position.
What will you do to improve the Montgomery County and the state of Texas if you are elected to the House?
I'm going to serve the people. I'm going to serve the people. You're going to tell me what it is that you need, and I am going to go fight for it relentlessly. I'm going to do something about these ridiculous property taxes. I heard some great ideas up here about how we needed to, create it so that people who are 55 don't have to, have their appraisals increased. Well, I want to tell you that our current property tax structure is a scam on the people of Texas. You have the legislature controlling what the exemption amount is. You have an appraisal district controlling the appraisal value. You have the local authorities, the different government authorities controlling what the rate is, and they all just take turns being the bad guy and pointing at each other. And the problem with saying, okay, well, we're going to give tax relief to older people, or we're only going to give tax relief to veterans, is that we all deserve tax relief. And when you say that you're just going to give relief to certain classes, elderly people right now are the largest voting bloc in the state. Well, they're just vote buying. Everyone deserves relief, and that's what I'm going to work for. I'm going to work to eliminate property taxes. It can be done. Florida's leading the way right now, and I am tired of Florida leading the way. I want Texas to lead the way to liberty.
Okay, do you believe we should close our primaries in the state of Texas?
Absolutely, we should close our primaries. It is absurd to think that we are going to have Democrats crossing over and choosing who our representatives are for the Republican Party. The Republican Party is a private membership association. We have the right to associate with who we want to associate with, and we have the right not to associate with anyone we don't want to associate with. So having people that don't have our beliefs, they don't share our values, coming in and choosing our representatives is absurd, and it needs to stop.
Do you believe the Republican Party is a private organization? If so, what evidence do you have to support these claims?
Well, the Republican Party is a private membership association, and it's protected under the First Amendment and also under Article 1, Section 27 or 6. Don't quote me on that. That's not one I use often, so I don't know it by heart. But it is a private membership association, and those are protected. It is outside. So Article 1, Section 29 of the Texas Constitution tells us that everything in the Bill of Rights is accepted out of the powers of government. So they have no authority to make any laws or rules telling us that we have to allow people in our association that we don't want in our association. So I don't know what evidence other than the Constitution you would present for that, but it is 100% a private membership association.
Would you ever pass legislation in order to obtain an endorsement?
Absolutely not. I would never pass legislation to receive any personal benefit for myself. It's unethical, it's immoral, it's unconstitutional. It's just plain wrong. No, I would never vote it. The legislation that comes across my desk will be prayed over. I will seek counsel from people that I know that are that understand those positions better than me if it's not in my particular wheelhouse. And the legislation will be passed based on, one, is it constitutional? Two, do the people of my district want it? And three, is it constitutional? Because even if the people of my district want it, if it's unconstitutional, I still can't pass it, but I could pass a constitutional amendment allowing it. But that's going to be my guiding principles.
How much of your campaign funding comes from within your district?
So my husband and I place the majority of the money in our campaign. So the vast majority of it comes from the district. As far as the donations I've received from individual people, I do have a lot of donations that come from out of state One, because I have a large family in Louisiana and they love me and they support me. They know what I'm trying to do and they send me money. But I also have been working with organizations throughout the United States, both in election integrity and both as a group that sends legal notices to elected officials and to the U.S. Supreme Court. They have all seen the work that I do, and they want this country restored, and they know how important Texas is to restoring this nation. And so they will send me money, but the majority of my donations are $5, $10, $20. I have a small handful of donations that are $1,000. Only one of those have come from outside of this district. But all of the other donations I've received from outside of the district are very small.
Okay. Do you pledge to vote with the Republican caucus nominee for Texas House Speaker? And how should the Republican caucus address representatives who did not vote for the caucus nominee?
So I believe that being a Republican should mean something. And it should especially mean something if you're a candidate. I am asking you, the Republican voters, for the honor of being your nominee. So if you're going to elect me and allow me to be your nominee, I believe that that means I have to uphold the Republican Party principles. I have to vigorously champion your Republican priorities. And I am going to follow your caucus rules, and that includes when voting for the Speaker of the House. If I don't think the majority of the Republicans are voting for the right Speaker of the House, I'm going to stay in that room, and I'm going to argue why I think they're wrong, and I'm going to make all of the arguments that I can for the Speaker I think would be the best. But at the end of the day, I'm going to vote with the Republicans for the Republican nominee. And 100%, if our representatives are not following the caucus rules, we can censure them. I believe in accountability for those in government. I'm sorry if you don't believe in accountability, you don't think we should ever hold anyone accountable for their actions, but I believe in accountability. We are desperately lacking in accountability for our elected officials in this state and really in this nation. So I'm for accountability.
Okay, you don't shoot the messenger, because none of these questions are my questions, okay?
These are a lot of questions. I feel like this is a lightning round.
I'm going to address that in the end, too. And if you don't understand this question, you let me know, okay? Because I'm not 100% sure I understand it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll give it a try.
What measure will you take to try and combat another epic EPIC city in Texas? Do you think this last legislative session was successful on this issue?
Okay, I do understand this question. So Epic City is the Muslim city that they've created within our country, that they are trying to institute Sharia law in this city. Only Muslims are allowed to live inside of this city. Some of it's been funded, as I said earlier, by our own government. And they really want to institute their own caliphate within our country. And so I think we already kind of covered this a lot, where I talked about the fact that, everything that they're doing, from the contractors who are building that city and only letting certain religious groups live in the city, that's against the law. You can't do that. So we need people to enforce the laws. And if the laws are not strong enough, then we just need to create better and stronger laws to prevent that. You can't have, even if they're a religious group, you can't have them coming in and setting up their own city with their own different type of legal system and their own system of government within the United States. That is not assimilation. That is an invasion.
So after everything you've said, what are your qualifications for running?
Well, I've been out here fighting for you. One, our founding fathers did not value qualifications. So if you want to talk about qualifications, there really is no one more qualified right now to run for a political office than Nancy Pelosi. I mean, is that the kind of qualifications that we want? John Cornyn has been in office for a really long time. He has lots of qualifications. So our founding fathers did not value qualifications. They valued people who wanted to serve each other, who wanted to work in government, to go there, to serve the people, to fight for what mattered for them, what was important for them. I have written laws before, but that doesn't make me qualified for this job. Anyone can learn to write a bill. We need people who are willing to stand up to evil, who are willing to stand up to this government corruption and want to serve the people.
Okay, that makes a good segue for the last but not least question. How can you make a difference if elected to Texas House District 3?
There is no one who is going to fight harder for you every day. I have a big, loud mouth God gave me, and I'm going to use it. If I can't get something passed, one of the best things that I could do is stand up there and tell the people the truth that are in the legislature, a truth they have never heard before. You don't have authority to pass this bill because it violates this provision of the Constitution. And they've never heard that before. Most of these people have never read the Constitution. I spoke with a legislature, and when I told her, I made a mention to the Texas Constitution, but I did not specifically say the Texas Constitution. She said, I've never heard of that before. That's in the U.S. Constitution? I said, no, it's in the Texas Constitution. And she said, oh. She didn't know we had a Texas Constitution, and we actually have more rights, more power, and more immunities in our state constitutions than we do the U.S. Constitution. So those are very important, and we have all of the rights, all of the immunities, and all of the power of the bills and declarations of rights of all 51 American constitutions, not just the Constitution of the U.S. and not just the Constitution of Texas. So I'm going to uphold and defend those documents every day. I will be in there fighting for you every day to restore what they have stolen from us, because a lot of our rights have been subverted and stolen from us.
So back to one of the questions you asked me that I said I'd get to. I don't know if it's a blessing or curse, but since you were the only candidate here to talk, you have now answered all the questions on all the cards for all the candidates, for the Texas Senate District 4 candidates, and for the Texas House District 3 candidates. So congratulations.
I like to be an overachiever.
Okay, last but not least, I have 2 minutes only to close.
Okay, I will keep this very short. I ask for your prayers. I ask for your support financially, or if you want to volunteer. We are running a shoestring campaign. We do not want to run out of funds before we get to the end of this election. We've put in as much as we can, but it will be nothing compared to what Cecil Bell will receive from donors and special interest groups. He's already received $25,000 from Dustin Burrows. He got his, how many, I think we figured out the other day, 171 pieces of silver for selling us out for that vote. So he will receive probably $200,000 for his campaign. We've put in all that we can put in, but we're going to make it work. Whatever God sends us, we are going to make it work. But if you can help, it would be greatly appreciated. Or if you want to block walk or make phone calls for my campaign, we need all the help that we can get. And I ask for your prayers, as I said, and I ask for your vote. I hope that you'll vote for me. I will work hard for you every day.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. We're now going to take another 10-minute break, get the next group up here ready to go. So if you'd be here, back in here about 8 minutes after 8, we'll get started. Thank you. Okay, so let's get started. You've got 2 minutes for an opening statement.
First of all, thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you all y'all for staying for the late show. I'm normally a fairly quiet and private person, so I'm going to open up a little bit tonight. So I was raised in a family with strong military values. Was molded by both of my grandfathers. One was a sergeant, the other one was a colonel. Both retired after full careers in U.S. Army. My dad also served in U.S. National Guard. So as normal, about 16, 17 years old, I kind of thought where my life would go. Turn 18, join the military, make a career. Well, my life took a different change. At 18, I was married with a baby on the way. Then at 19, I was divorced and raising a 9-month-old son. So fast forward 9 years of being a single father. It's when I met the love of my life. I married my beautiful wife, Lacey. This March, we'll be celebrating 26 years of marriage. So through all that, I never gave up and never quit. So then I had an opportunity to make one of the goals of my life come about and had the opportunity to go to the police academy. So I got all the paperwork filled out, had everything ready to go, ready to start. Then I was told that I had to go get some college credits because I had a GED and I couldn't start the academy. So again, I didn't give up, I didn't quit. I went and got the college credits I needed. I started in that next academy, graduated, and after I graduated, I was given the opportunity by Constable David Hill to get a job at Precinct 5 Constable's office, where I've served for 21 years in various roles. I've been a school resource officer. Time's up.
What makes you qualified for this position? 2 minutes.
So what makes me qualified for this position, I believe, is the years of service I have in law enforcement, things that I've done in law enforcement, serving the civil process, all the different types of civil process. I believe my values are a big thing. And so for the last 4 years, I've also been helping bailiff the court on a weekly basis. So when I'm in court, I'm paying attention to the cases. I'm listening to what they're saying. Thinking in my head, what would you do? What decision would you make based on the evidence that's been presented? So I think that's what makes me the best candidate.
What makes you different from other candidates?
I think what makes me different than most candidates, and my wife tells me all the time that I am a great listener. Believe it or not, I'm a man and I'm a great listener. I listen and learn and observe. I don't listen just to make a reaction. I know that sitting behind a bench, you have to be able to listen, you have to show compassion, and then you do have to make a decision, or have a reaction and make a decision. But I think listening is probably what sets me apart from most people.
How has your community involvement helped shape your leadership skills, and what nonprofit volunteering have you done?
So volunteering that I've done, my wife and I are both longtime members, about 15 years in Magnolia Bible Church, where we've served and helped on several occasions, different events with that. I've served 2 years on the Magnolia Education Foundation board. I've served all 5 years of Come to the Table, which is a Thanksgiving dinner that's put on in Magnolia that's open to everybody. SOS is a big place that not only myself but my wife have served at. And I served participated many years with Texans United for Freedom, which is a nonprofit that gives back to veterans and first responders, doing their cook-offs and stuff. For the past 6 years, I've been a board member of TUF. And right now, I currently sit as the vice president for that organization.
What makes you qualified for this position?
Again, like the other question was, I think what makes me qualified is just the diversity that I have in the civil process service, from not only the eviction papers, small claim suits, child support papers, divorce papers. Also, the last 4 years, I've been back into the civil side after I did almost 6 years in internet crimes against children. I take care of all of our writs, our writ of executions, which deal with money judgments, which means I have to contact people, send them letters, try to go collect the money from them. If I can't collect money from them, then I have to levy on stuff that they own, whether it's real property or personal property. And then I become an auctioneer, which I'm not a politician, and I'm not really a public speaker, so an auctioneer is a lot of fun.
How do you assure voters that you will be an independent justice of the peace? In other words, you'll not serve special interests.
Well, I've said before, and I've said again, I'm not a puppet. I'm not going to be anybody's puppet. I'm going to do what needs to be done for the patrons that come through the JP5 office and answer, to them and to the good Lord above.
What changes do you want to make to speed up the docket?
I think a couple of changes can be made. I think one of the changes that could be made is to extend the hours. Maybe, start out once, twice a month, having an evening court. People don't have to miss work. If it's a truancy docket, kids don't have to miss more school. And I think some technology needs to be added and updated in the courtroom, and that technology needs to be used.
Okay. I'm not from Precinct 5, okay? Do you have any suggestions to clean up neighborhoods such as, I think this is Hazy Hollow? I didn't know if it was Lazy Hollow or Hazy Hollow. Okay.
Well, I can tell you they've started, they have a program out there that's called Hope for the Hollow, which is run by a church. But other than that, I wouldn't have any answers on that.
Okay. Will you perform same-sex marriage?
I will not. That goes against my values.
What is your view on alternatives to fines or jail for offenses such as community service?
I think it's a great opportunity. Today's times, money's tight for a lot of people. Okay, everybody's made a mistake. I'm sure everybody has gotten a ticket for one reason or another, speeding, tags out, something like that. You might not have the money to pay that ticket. But if there's an alternative where you can take a defensive driving class, or you can go do some community service hours on a Saturday or in the evenings at your local church, local nonprofit, I think it's a good idea.
Do you have any particular organizations in mind where people could serve community service?
So community service can be done at any nonprofit. Churches are a great place to do it. The county, Montgomery County Precinct 2, we have a recycle center over off of Friendship Drive. They're open from 8 to 4, Tuesday through Saturday. So if it's teenagers or young adults, they can get a lot of stuff done on Saturdays. They don't have to miss any school.
What's your plan for path to victory to become Justice of the Peace for Precinct 5?
What is my past plan to Precinct 5? Well, I guess my plan is just to get out and do what I can do. The victory to it is up to the voters and God.
How can you make a difference if you're elected as Justice of the Peace of Precinct 5?
I think I would make a difference just with my compassion, my values, just listening to people when they come in and listening to everything they have to say. Just giving them the opportunity to settle their disputes.
What Bible verse best describes God's call on your life to run for this position for Justice of the Peace of Precinct 5?
That Bible verse would be Ephesians 6:11. I think y'all have heard that tonight already, which is put on the full armor of God so that you may stand strong. I think about that on a daily basis every morning when I put that badge and gun on. It's part of armor, but you have to have the full armor of God on too.
Okay, you can now do a 2-minute closing.
2-minute closing. Like I said, I'm not a public speaker or a politician, so this will be short and sweet. I'd like to leave y'all with my campaign motto, which is pray, share, vote. So I'd ask you that you pray for the candidates. I ask you that you pray for the process. I ask you to take what you've learned here tonight, ask you to do your own research on the candidates, and share that information with others. I would also, on the vote end of it, I would also like to have your vote and get out there and encourage other people to get out there and vote. I'm Ashton Hedrick, and I'm ready to go to work as your next Justice of the Peace, Precinct 5. Thank you.
Thank you, and want to thank all the diehards that stuck around to the bitter end. That concludes the program tonight. Thank you for being here, and God bless you. God bless Montgomery County. God bless the state of Texas and this nation, and y'all have a good night.